Well, welcome to the second introductory little segment on the background of Revelation. We're going to answer the question, who is the author of Revelation? Now, someone might say, well, duh, it's John, because the author of Revelation tells us 4 times that his name is John. And we also note the frequent use of first person singular verb forms such as I saw, I heard. But the fact is, the name John was relatively common among the ancient Jews, and even if we know it's John, we're left with a Johnny who? Well, David Aune, a biblical scholar, says that there is considerable evidence that whoever wrote this was indeed a Palestinian Jew. The first piece of evidence was that the author is impressively familiar with the Old Testament. There are more than 100 allusions. Some authors have estimated as many as 400 allusions to the Old Testament. Secondly, the specific genre of this book, Apocalypse, is found only in a Palestinian environment. Thirdly, the author exhibits familiarity with the Jewish temple and cult in Jerusalem and is familiar with pre-70 AD topography for this area. There are several sections which focus on Palestine. It talks about the Valley of Armageddon, and it talks about Jerusalem. And finally, the Greek, which this is written in, is a distinctively Semitized Greek, meaning that the author has a funky accent from Aramaic and Hebrew. What about the external evidence? What did other people say about this early in the church? Well, unfortunately, there are several Johns suggested by tradition. So we do have a problem of Johnny who. The first suggestion, and the most obvious, is that it's John, the son of Zebedee, or John the Apostle, John, the author of the Gospel of John, who was in the inner circle of Jesus' disciples, one of the beloved disciple, if you like. This was first suggested by Justin Martyr in his dialogues around 155 AD. This is actually pretty early. And furthermore, Justin explicitly quotes from the book of Revelation. So he was convinced that indeed it was the Apostle John. Many other early testimonies unanimously recognized John the Apostle as the author. The problem is there's another testimony from early tradition that it was John the Elder. Now this is a muxed up tradition from Eusebius, the historian, who talks about 2 Johns, John the Apostle and John the Elder. And some have suggested then, because of this, John the Elder wrote Revelation in about 68 to 70 AD, and then it was reworked by his disciples late in the 1st century. My position is that the book was written by the beloved disciple, and we should not be fooled by the muxed up tradition of that later church historian Eusebius. There were doubts in the Eastern Church, which were gradually overcome, but they came to believe as well that it was John, the beloved disciple, who wrote this. And really, there's no good reason to doubt St. John, the Apostle, is the author of the book of Revelation.